Hey guys, it's Rai Thistlethwayte from Thirsty Merc with Lauren Yeates on Rave It Up.
Take me back to the sweet times, the hot nights. Everything is gonna be alright in the summertime.
Hey guys, it's Lauren Yeates from Rave It Up here, and I'm privileged to be here today with Ray from Thirsty Merc. How you going today, Ray?
I'm good, thanks, Lauren. How are you?
I'm very, very fantastic. So, welcome to Rave It Up. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Well,
and yes,
it's good to be here. These
He was very
microphones are
impressed.
awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
You've got a
I
great
put a lot of
setup.
work into them, yes.
No, it's really very impressive, I've got to
And I
say.
really appreciate you coming out today. Like, I know you guys are very busy on your tour at the moment, so it's great to have you here, not just a phone interview, face to face.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so cannot wait to hear about your career. You guys have been around for a while now, so I'm very excited. Now, this is your first time on the show, so before we talk about all your achievements and everything, we'd love to get to know you a little bit better. And I think we should start from the beginning because that only makes sense to, right?
Yeah, good place to start.
I did hear before Thirsty Merc came about, you and Phil were like a live jazz duo, and you're working as a session musician, is that correct?
Yeah, we met after studying jazz music at Sydney's Conservatorium of Music. We'd, go to gigs, watch other bands play. We ended up playing in a lot of jazz combos around Sydney. And we also shared a love of, classic rock and blues and the other sort of associated styles to jazz. A lot of these blues was really on a lot of levels for us what rock came out of, and it sort of was also what jazz came out of. So that was sort of how we ended up hanging out and becoming friends, I guess, musical associates. But yeah, we just got along great and went out to a lot of venues and just hung out at night, and we were, in our early 20s and just enjoying life, So we decided to start working together after that.
So how did you originally find your love for jazz? Were you always a bit musical when you were a kid?
I was very musical as a kid. I was always into music, playing piano and playing guitar and a bit of bass guitar. My parents were musical. My mum plays piano and my dad plays guitar and bass, so they were sort of teaching and performing, and they were both teachers. So, there was a sort of educational element in the house, and also a sort of an excitement, to sort of get out there and perform. So jazz, the central, a lot of people think jazz is sort of, double bass, piano, red wine, smoky jazz clubs in, late night sort of situations.
It's the stuff that's in the movies, so.
Yeah, that kind of image. And it certainly, obviously has that element to it historically. But I think that the real defining element of jazz music is that more than any other style of music, in terms of Western music, it's really all based around improvisation.
Yeah,
so that's the
an interesting
strongest
way to look at it.
Yeah, so if you sort of take that element as the strongest suit of jazz, then there's something very exciting about spontaneity in anything, in theatre, in comedy, in music, or even in any sort of performance style. An element of improvisation is always really, really exciting, and that's what really drew me to it. People going for something, the audience and the performer doesn't really know how it's all going to end up, if they're going to land that somersault, but when they do, and if they can, more often than not, then it's a really, really exciting thing. So that's sort of what it was, that sort of element that brought me to jazz. And again, it's sort of harmonically, in terms of the chord progressions and sort of some of the harmonic and melodic elements of it. There's a strong blues underpinning in jazz historically as well. So that was yet another reason why the blues was sort of like a core type of musical idiom to sort of draw from.
And I must say, I actually never really thought, before researching you, never really thought of you doing jazz. I think because I've always seen you at Thirsty Merc, I'm like, yeah, okay, he's, pop rock guy sort of thing, But it's really interesting, I must say, because you're saying with all that improvisation, it's that whole experience you're getting and all that practice, I guess. Right?
Yeah, well, the other thing about jazz is it's sort of, after, it was always actually it was actually a commercial type of music in the, swing era and before that. But when, artists such as, Charlie Parker and Miles Davis and some of these other guys, or John Coltrane, a lot of the famous, and just the time that those guys started bringing, I guess, an intellectual side to the music in terms of, it growing as an art music, a real theoretical kind of knowledge base and all that kind of stuff. Then it also was interesting to me because it gave me a grounding to perform in other musical styles. If you understand a lot about the harmonic element of where chords come from and the direction that they're going from, and the qualities of what they mean, and how to sort of paint with the momentum of certain types of melodies and the momentum of certain types of tensions and releases that chords give. It actually helps you write songs in a popular style. It helps you be spontaneous if you need to teach someone a song really quickly at a covers gig, if you're doing a cover band gig, if you need to arrange a horn section, you can utilize a sort of jazz harmony understanding to sort of get you through a lot of different situations. So it galvanized my sort of grounding to become a professional musician, even if I wasn't going to end up playing jazz on all my shows. So it was a good knowledge base to have.
You're
and
so
something
talented.
Oh, stop it! But no, I don't know. It's just a constant learning process, really.
Yeah.
Something I'm still working towards.
So when starting the band, did you not want to do jazz anymore? Or, was there a hidden love for pop rock and you're like, yeah, I need to
Oh, not at
start
all.
this band?
I'd never sort of saw anything as cannibalising anything else. I sort of thought that it's just, sharing is caring. Keep adding musical styles and musical strands to your sort of bow and keep kind of adding elements. And the more you can learn, the more you have an overview of where you're at, and the more you can kind of have awareness of all sorts of musical styles. And that's kind of my general openness that I want to have. And I think I try and play jazz and improvised music even more than I ever did on a lot of levels. I try and be open to lots of different things, and I also try and not discriminate if something's very simple and very sort of compact and has a strength to the melody, which is just a couple of words which resonate in your mind. I mean, I was just thinking about that song "Walking on a Dream," Empire of the Sun. It's the first line in the song, "Walking on a Dream," and I'm just thinking that's such a strong image. It's a beautiful emotional concept, and it's a beautiful creative concept. And the song starts with that, and it's almost like that's all you really need to know, and it's so, as soon as you kind of set off on that journey, suddenly I'm already almost mentally and emotionally and spiritually walking on a dream with the singer in that
They've
song.
set the scene.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. It's not about anything except saying something that's creatively honest and that's got some sort of clarity to it, and that's really, it doesn't matter what sort of musical style you're playing, as long as you're able to say whatever you are with clarity.
So does that mean maybe we can expect different genres of albums for Thirsty Merc, eh?
Oh, I would
Maybe?
hope so. I would hope we can vacillate in and out of different genres and
That'll be
incorporate
really
different
cool.
styles.
Wouldn't that be cool? I think that'd be cool. Yeah. And when you were young, was there any other careers that you wanted to pursue, or was it always music? Did it always make you really...
Yeah, music was sort
passionate?
of... Well, look, I mean, I was interested in some sort of visual arts on a level, and I've got a bit of a hack hobby version of photography and some sort of content creation background in some sort of visual stuff. And my older brother's a very talented visual artist, so I probably got that from him. And my grandma was a watercolour, professional watercolour artist, and she taught and did a lot of different things with her art, had a lot of exhibitions. So I think I got that from her side of the family. And I was always interested in the psychology of relationships, a bit of a kind of delving into that sort of world. And I think that, that could have been something that if I hadn't been into music, I could have gone into that world. Songwriting gave me a sort of ambient way to kind of document and comment on
Different
the
things.
relationships with yourself, the relationship of where you are in the world, and also with other people. But I wasn't much good at sport. Wasn't much good at sort of focusing on physics and maths and chemistry and all that kind of stuff. And I just, I didn't really have the physique to be in the rugby team at school. So it's sort of like, I just kind of went. My younger brother was a good sportsman, and my dad was a great sprinter and that kind of stuff. But I was
So
more
they
into.
did that.
Yeah,
You did
they were
the-
good at that stuff. Music seemed to just be inherently within me, and I just was drawn to it. Don't know why.
Well, that's good. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here today, right?
I'd be here, but I don't know what
Maybe
I'd
as
be doing.
an artist.
Yeah, doing something different.
Yeah, you'd probably be doing an interview because you're, I don't know, a painter or something. You know,
Maybe.
Maybe not a musician.
Maybe.
Well,
Maybe these would be ice creams instead of
ice cream's all right.
instead of microphones.
I think I'd rather.
Maybe
the
we'd have our own
microphones around
flavours of gelato.
it. That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool. So when Thirsty Merc was first starting out, I heard that it was originally called just Thirsty. How come?
Well, yeah, you are right. It was just called Thirsty. Where did that come from? I don't really know. I think.
Too long ago
I
now.
don't. Yeah, I almost. It did. We added the Merc onto the Thirsty part sort of very early on. I think
Because
the reason.
of your Mercedes-Benz, right?
Yeah, I had an old car, the Thirsty Merc, but I think all one-word band names were just taken. You know, there was some sort of register online that if you went on there and you checked, is this name taken? You know how it is
Thirsty
if
was
you're
already
looking for
taken?
your website. Yeah, I mean every one-word name of a band is pretty much taken. I mean, you'd be surprised at how many 2 or 3 word. For any popular phrase is probably taken these days, and at least we can find out easily these days. And it just gave us a way to have something that was not taken and had its own sort of
Meaning that
some
was
sort
important
of
to you?
strange rhyming slang with thirsty work, and I had the old car, the gas guzzling Mercedes. So yeah,
Yeah. Do you still have that car?
I don't actually.
Got rid of it after you named the band.
Well, I had it for a while. It went through some mechanical failures, and then my dad ended up sort of inheriting it from me, and inherited all the problems that came with it. And
An old car, what do
and
you
then
expect?
after a while, we had to let it go.
Oh, your baby. That's
I
alright.
wonder where it is now. Might not even
someone
be in
else has
existence
it.
anymore. It
Might be at one of those.
might have been turned into scrap metal.
Probably. I was just thinking that's sad to think about. Moving on. Sorry. Don't cry about your baby. Now, you guys have been around for like 14 years. So you guys, yeah, time flies, right?
It certainly does.
Yeah. So you guys have obviously seen a lot during your time in the industry. So what do you think has been the main changes in the industry since you guys have started?
That's a fantastic question, and a huge
Thank you.
question to answer. But it's the changes have been seismic. I guess. Look,
Was it
when
easier
we
back
started
then
out,
when you
it was our first jam was in a suburb in Sydney called Baronia Park, which is sort of near Hunters Hill. And that was March 2002. And back then, I don't even know I think LimeWire was around. We had peer-to-peer sharing stuff. People were still using slower networks on their internet connections. So, we were seeing a huge amount of kind of unregulated file sharing, and a lot of people up in arms as to how is this all going to land? What's going to happen here? iPods were obviously around. Were they?
They might have just started.
The iPhone wasn't around. Facebook started 2 years later. So we had MySpace, I think. MySpace was all about
I remember MySpace.
how many numbers of friends you had there. That was the sort of adrenaline hit of like, I've got more friends than you.
I think it's still around too. It's just
it is still
for
around.
musicians, isn't it?
It might well be. But, we didn't have Facebook, which was sort of...
That would have been difficult. Thinking about how
that
it's
sort
such
of
a
took
big
where
thing now.
MySpace left off for musical creators, and it sort of it made it a lot cleaner and a lot easier. And we had iTunes kind of growing and growing and growing. CD sales had been declining from the year 2000, so physical albums were getting less and less and less. It was a pretty strange and insecure time in those following years. I mean, at that point we were lucky enough to get signed by a major record label where they were still interested in albums as a unit. They were interested in putting a little bit of money behind the band to kind of pay for some music videos, the production of the albums. But through the next decade, we literally saw just the absolute, the ground just, in terms of physical album sales and everything, just pulled right out from under everybody. A lot of people saying, the end is nigh. But ironically, through all of that undulating commercial landscape, people still wanted to go and see gigs.
Good.
People still wanted to go and stand in a room and celebrate and commiserate with artists, singing about their creative, and personal realities. And
they still do.
And they still do. Nothing really fell apart on those levels. But certainly it's just been an absolute, mushroom cloud sort of style, exponential
Mushroom cloud. I've never heard anybody use that phrase
exponential
before.
increase in terms of how immediate, global, and the bandwidth of how, how our sort of, digital sort of worlds have opened up. It's just been incredible. I mean, it's probably been a faster technological rate of advancement than even previous, decades, maybe, So that's been quite insane, actually, almost watching all of that go on. And then, within 10, 12 years, you've seen rise of digital sales, files, iTunes. Then you've seen the decline of those and the rise of streaming companies, and then, people still want to go and see live gigs. They've sort of regulated a lot of royalties, and a lot of people are still up in arms about the royalty breaks that artists are getting and all of that. And then you've seen the sort of perception change from, back in the day it was absolute, blasphemy if you associate your music with some sort of advertising campaign or some sort of TV show or some sort of thing, then you're ultimately a sellout straight away. But we've seen the perception change amongst artists, publishers and fans, where, hey, if you can get your song in a movie, if you can get your song, associated with the right type of pairing of moving picture, then, hey, you're actually celebrated for it. So attitudes have changed towards all of that, and that's been good and bad and all of that. But I think, it's not like artists or music creation is going to kind of go away. I think, those that are passionate about what they do and they really want to stay with it are going to keep creating stuff, and they're going to still enjoy it and find a way through. And, if we're lucky. I mean, in countries like Australia and the US, and if we've got enough food to eat and a roof over our head, we're in the top 8% of, of humans on this earth. I mean, it's like there's bigger things going on. So I don't know. I sort of think it's all going to be all right.
So out of all that, what have you personally found the hardest thing about the industry in your time?
Oh, wow. What have I found the hardest thing? Well, there's been so many trials and tribulations, I can't even recount a tenth of them, to be honest. But
it's becoming easier for people to become musicians now and being found, especially with YouTube and everything. Have you found it difficult to keep, I guess, Thirsty Merc unique and people interested? Has that been any challenges there?
These are sort of questions I don't even know if I can begin to answer, because I just don't know. My perception of anything is literally so filtered through my own nature experience that I don't really know whether I have a good handle on the overview of what's really going on. I mean, I'd have to sort of, for me to feel like I'm some sort of authority on it, I would have had done, a master's in some sort of social sciences and focused in on creative arts in a particular time, and have only completed that right now and be writing a column in a certain thing to understand where things are going. And I'm in that position to know. I just think, Thirsty Merc is unique because we're a band that has our particular group of people who play in our specific, creative styles enmeshed, and I know we're unique because of that, and that's okay for me. I mean, in the same way that we all have, body parts that sort of resemble other people's body parts, we're all exactly kind of the same, and the DNA of humans hasn't really evolved for the last however many hundreds of thousands of years. We're the same
very
species.
Interesting.
Apparently. We're still Homo sapiens, apparently, with exactly the same DNA. I don't really know whether that's true or not. I feel like I've devolved a bunch, but I guess everyone's got their own fingerprint. Everyone is unique, and it doesn't really matter whether you sort of, in my opinion, if you start getting caught up in that sort of stuff, you're sort of not really thinking about, well, what's my voice? What's my real, honesty of what I'm really saying? And all you can do is try and give people an unadulterated, raw version of that.
Just be yourself.
And that's
right?
hard. Yeah, that's hard to do because we're constantly being, flotsomed and jetsomed around with all the kind of waves of everything that's thrown at us, all day, every day now. I reckon one way to stay unique is not get caught up in it and just kind of like do your own thing and just kind of keep at it in your own way and not sort of buy into all the other kind of trends and stuff. And I've got to say, through the rise and fall of other things, I think before I even knew what a record deal was, before I even knew what trendy clothes were, before I even knew what this latest thing was musically, this type of drum beat, this type of music production, this type of the latest this and that, I always loved music. I always played music. And I think that's actually been more remembering that early love for music that really came from sort of my parents and my own kind of exploration through my own tape collections that we'd buy at the local Fate, and I'd just kind of go through it and, Emerson, Lake and Powell, or like, whatever it was, anything. God, just trying to trawl through it and just kind of take the good bits.
It's good to see you're so passionate.
That's what's kind of meant that I find I've got a bit of a backbone that'll kind of ensure that I'm not going to let changes
get to you,
kill my love for music. I'm going to, I'm holding on to that.
Oh, good.
I've got to hold on to that. Otherwise, I'll shrivel up and die.
I'm feeling this energy from him, like how passionate you are about it. It's incredible.
Well,
stay like
you.
that. Don't lose that.
I'm hoping. I want to stay with it.
Yeah.
It is hard. It's hard, to. It's hard for me to not crap on about stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting hearing about it. One thing that a lot of musicians do, that we do talk about in interviews, and something that they do find difficult is, haters of their music and, bullying online, since it's become such a big thing now. Have you guys had any issues with that yourself? Or do you just block it off?
Look, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably aware of what people, if they're going to make negative assertions about what I do or what acts I've worked in and out of do. I'm 36 years old. I started learning piano when I was 4 and 10 months old.
Early.
I don't really know. I mean, I don't say every now and then something really negative doesn't affect me for a very momentary time, but if you start getting caught up in that, you'll never get anything done, because there's too many people with, what they say about opinions, they're like assholes. Everyone's got one. And yeah, you just, I think the internet gives, it's a playground and a petri dish for people to just kind of say things that they're not even really meaning themselves half the time. They're just kind of saying, well, I can sort of get away with this. I'm just going to sort of get an adrenaline hit out of it.
Face, yeah, they're behind a
just
computer.
Probably just addicted to their own dopamine sort of supply in their own brains, and that's what we're all kind of jacked up on and trying to sort of keep some activity going. And we often probably do things for that reason entirely, but I don't really know. It's not really as much of a part of my frame of thinking
Good.
anymore if it ever was. I mean, tell you, if we... It's not that stuff that stops you. It's probably other setbacks that are bigger than that are going to hold you back, you know. And I think that your own fears of failure and your own fears of, you know, sometimes the most eloquent way to kind of get through things that are thrown at you in a negative way is just to sort of like not give them the time of day. And that's not always easy to do, because I know people try and mind trick you into sort of getting involved in their chatter, but you've got to keep your eyes on the prize, and the prize is, we are lucky, all of us, to be healthy, happy. We're lucky, all of us, to be able to, you know, have food on the table and make creative works. If we are doing that, then we're really fortunate to do that. So just like, that's really like all you need to focus on, and just do that again. As good as you did last time, do it again, better than last time if you can. Do it different from last time again. Do it in response to what's changed societally or environmentally than last time, and you'll get your own reward through that, you know, I think.
It was so beautiful. So positive. Bringing that negativity around. I like it.
Well, you have to, you know.
Yeah. Good. This is a very positive show, so it's good that you've done that. Yeah. And to lighten the mood up a little bit more as well, we'd love to know, during your time in the industry, throughout your career, have you had any embarrassing moments or like major mistakes made, either on stage or during the filming of a video clip or anything? We love our funny stories.
Oh, look, I'm sure there's been a million of those, and you know,
You probably can't think of just one.
well, I'm trying to, you know, give you a good soundbite. Embarrassing. Oh, there's been too many embarrassing moments. There's been too many mistakes made. There's been, you know, the thing is,
Where do you start?
yeah, where do you start? I mean, sometimes it feels like that's all I ever do, is just constant melange of mistakes and a constant embarrassing moment that's lasted, you know, since my conception till now. No, I'm not sure.
It's only recent gigs, because, you know, we met on Friday at the Edamoga gig. Any embarrassing moments there that you can think of? Didn't look like there was.
No, I mean, I don't know. God, no, since then, I've only done 3 gigs since then.
Since then,
They
yeah.
were all in Tasmania. So, I mean, not that that would mean that that'd be any more embarrassing than normal, but I guess I'm trying to think. Look, how about I keep you posted about that? I'll think of something.
You just let
and
me know.
if I think of
You
something...
got my number, you call me up and we'll let the listeners know.
There have been some, but the problem is if I talk about them, I'm going to either be throwing band members under the bus,
Oh,
or I'm going to be...
so it's their fault.
No, it's not their... It's just things that have happened, and I mean there've been a few for me too, I'm sure, but I don't know. We're only human. We're only human.
We're only human. Of course we're going to make mistakes. Now, you guys are on your Shifting Gears tour at the moment. So for anybody that wants to come along to one of your dates on the tour, what can they expect from your shows?
Well, this is the 3rd tour from this album period, so you know, we've had a good amount of time to really play the new material from the album. We went through an absolutely horrendous time with a tragic road accident, which was a year ago.
Really sorry to hear that, by the way.
No, thank you. But we're very proud to announce that Mick Skelton, who was injured in the crash, is on quite a good amount of the dates. So he's fighting fit. He's playing better than ever.
So he'll be back fully soon, do you think? Or is he still recovering?
The only reason he's
bit?
not on all the dates is because he's actually had other commitments in terms of other shows and a few other things. And he was playing at Edamoga on the weekend, which was great. You heard him play there, and he's just an absolute living legend, that guy. He's just so inspiring as a person, and I love, you know, every moment on stage with him, and he's the nicest guy in the business, and he's been through so much, and his outlook is just exemplary. So yeah, that's something that you can expect on a lot of the dates. And yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, I'm feeling good about things. I've been through a lot as well over the last 12 months, and kind of channeling a lot of emotion and a lot of new self-awareness into my performances. And I'm still feeling so passionate about this new batch of work that we've released a year ago, and we also, the band's sounding absolutely awesome on all the old material too. So it's sort of, look, the thing is about this particular band, I'm lucky enough to work with my best friends.
Aww.
We've been together almost 15 years now, and it's really an honour to be still here standing doing this stuff and still be able to really make great music with such great people and have fans come out and enjoy the music after so long. And I think that just that sort of shared and that real sense of love in the room is sort of something that that we're more aware of than ever before, and that's really what I'm trying to do now, and redefine purpose instead of, hey, when I was in my 20s of making music to have whatever haircut I had and whatever, meet girls or be like a singer in a band or tell my friends that I'm doing this and that. I've been on a huge journey to sort of like try and redefine the purpose of what this is all about, and it really is about helping other people, and it's about communicating and trying to just to spread a positivity, I think. So that's really sort of that's been something that we've only been able to be gifted through the hard times that we've all been through. But I think that if you come to a show, you'll feel that, and that's what we're trying to instill in the performances.
That's lovely. I feel like, especially with everything that's happening around the world lately, you guys are, as cliche as this sounds, changing the world one step at a time. One song at a time.
One breath at a time.
One breath at a time. So it's good. I love the positivity. We need more of that in the world. We really do.
I'll tell you, I couldn't agree more.
Now, you guys have obviously named the tour Shifting Gears because of the album. But why did you guys decide to name it Shifting Gears? Is that what you guys are doing? Shifting gears through your life?
Oh, well, shifting gears as a general sort of phrase is obviously a reference to manual sort of transmission, manual operations, and that was within the band internally. We sort of knew that this was the first full-length album which was 100% independently released. And when I say independently released, we paid for everything on the way in, obviously with a lot of help from our friends in our audience, but that was a very manually driven operation. And we also had all the liaison in terms of the music producer coming on board, how we scheduled everything. We don't have a record label involved. They're not paying for any of the music videos. All the enlisting of all the creative types that went into making this. The mastering engineer who came on board, she's based in New York City. Music producer, our publicist, our radio servicing, even the band's management is helmed by myself and the other guys in the band. So we're sort of, there's a different manual level of sort of, of operations going on than ever before. So shifting gears is obviously a great
metaphor.
A great sort of, great metaphor for that. And it also, obviously, shifting gears, is a sort of, it's a reference to a changes being made, and a change of pace and a change of sort of, and that's sort of a good analogy for what's going on in terms of the music industry. But it's also, I guess, taking matters into our own hands and being accountable and responsible for our own stuff instead of just sort of waiting around for, other structures like record labels, management, those kind of other structures that are there. It meant that we could really drive, I guess, manually, and that's really a good reference. And then if I want to take it further and really overdo this point, I can talk about the fact that Thirsty Merc's got an automotive band name element, and you're just putting some car references in there, and
I like that
talking
too.
about the gear changing thing. And
How
then
did
why
that
don't we
not
also put a
register in my head?
photo of a car on the front of the album, which we didn't do.
Yeah, why didn't you?
Because of that exact thing. It would have just been like too much of a one theme, so that's why we went for
come on,
the animated psychedelic horse idea. Which I, you know, the other thing is I've never given credit to a lot of the people who worked tirelessly on this.
So thank you.
Well, not just to Lauren here, but also Rena Ferris.
Oh, I love Rena.
Rena-
We talk. Yeah, she organises a lot of my interviews. There you go.
Rena is...
Small world.
I love Rena. She is one of my favourite people in the music industry. She is the most honest, straight shooter, but such a caring soul, and she's been in the game. She's got the experience. She's an amazing publicist. She's so good at what she does, and she is just... I've got to say, without her, I might have been able to record some music with the guys, but we would never have known how, when, and what to do in terms of actually scheduling a timeline of how to put things together. She was so great. She almost gave us this sort of end goal. Let's work backwards from there. Without her, none of this would have happened.
Aww.
We had Nat Files working on radio servicing. She was fantastic in setting up certain interviews and getting things going on radio. Emily
What a
Lazar.
small world. We
It is
know
a
a
small
lot
world.
of people in the
It's
industry.
microcosmic.
Same people.
And yeah, Emily Lazar, one of the world's best mastering engineers, based in New York. She was fantastic in giving us a world-class finishing sort of touch to the album. Lindsay Gravina and Brendan, who he works with, Brenton. Those guys down there at Birdland Studios in Melbourne, they just went the extra mile in terms of music production, and the hours those guys put in, I can't tell you. You know, I was sleeping on the floor of the studio for 3 weeks.
Wow.
While we were doing that in the back room on an air mattress. And you know, just it was so renegade, you know. We just put it all together in such a kind of like, you know, such a sort of organic sense. And then I've got to give it to Tom Spark, who directed the Good Life music video. You know, we'd worked with him through the major label scene. He did the Hard Way music video. He did a few other videos for us, I think. A whole bunch of stuff for us. But for him to come on board independently was really, really amazing. So, you know, there's been that sort of...
A lot of people on your side.
Yeah, really, really a lot of care that went into it. And there's other people that... there's a lot of other people that have helped out. And look, most importantly, our listeners and our fans, you know, those that support us
Thank you.
Yeah, because they did chip in, help out with making this album, and we came closer to that part of our world than ever before, and that's something that we're eternally grateful for. So yeah, it's been overwhelmingly positive. So yeah, it's been really really life-changing, actually, transformative.
Aww.
Yeah.
It's good to see you know that too. And grateful for it. I know some musicians aren't. They're just... I'm not going to say up themselves because that would be mean. But you're definitely not, so...
I don't know.
It's good to see.
There's no point doing that stuff.
No.
You know.
You gotta remember where you came from.
You do.
And like in the last 12 months or so, you guys have been like one of the busiest bands in the country. How do you guys juggle everything? Do you even have time for anything else? I'm surprised you're here right now.
How do you juggle it? Well, look, I guess you just got to do your best at kind of checking off the list of stuff you got to get done. It is busy, but it's handleable. You know, practice makes perfect with anything, and you know, we're pretty used to touring. We're pretty used to recording and writing and all the other stuff you got to do. And I don't know, I like talking to people. You know, interviews are good because you sort of get to sort of deepen the understanding of what you're doing and share a little bit of that background with other people too.
I love that too.
Yeah, that's, well, you know, you're on the other side of it, and without you, this wouldn't have happened, so thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm very surprised as well, not only are you here, but how do you even have time to write songs? Because you guys have done a lot of songs now and, you know, many albums, and you write a lot of the songs yourself, right?
Yeah, I do write a lot of the songs. This is great.
Cockatoos, there we go.
That's awesome.
It's good being amongst all the wildlife.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway. Getting distracted.
How do you write? Oh, I can't remember the question now. I was just too busy looking
How
at
do
the
you have time
cockatoos.
to write songs?
Well, you got to make time. To answer that best, I think I'd say, in the music game, you don't really have a kind of balance between touring, writing, and recording. You mainly do big blocks of each. So you do have intense sort of times where you're just sort of writing in your life, and that might entail just hanging out, getting up in the day, go grab a coffee, think about what you're doing, sit at the piano, try and write stuff, finish things off, demo it out, send it around, see what you can do better, listen, drive around late at night, put it on the car stereo.
Do you always write about stuff that's happened to you?
Not always. I mean, you write about
Anything? and
appropriated
everything?
versions of things. You write about, you do write about a lot of stuff that's happened to you. It is the best yardstick in terms of finding material that's honest. And life happens, you know, so stuff's going to happen, and all you need to do is just sort of be out there almost with a bit of almost like a virtual butterfly net, catching little sort of, you know, emotional trinkets from the sky, bits of sort
You're
of...
very good at the metaphors today.
We can take that further, but just it's like catching little kind of kernels of inspiration, just being aware of when they kind of come to you and how to receive them and document them in a certain way, and then you flesh those out, and it's often the start point of a song.
It's so interesting. It's great learning all this new stuff. And speaking of songs and, you know, your songwriting and everything, back in like about 2008, 2009 was when one of my friends first introduced me to your music. And the first song he decided to play for me was Homesick. And I love that
Homesick.
song. It's like still on my iPod as well. Did you write that personally? Is that based on a true story at all?
Homesick is definitely a very deeply true story. The themes in terms of Homesick, actually, I'm only realising now, like literally in the last few months, what that was probably about. On one level, it's a romantic story about someone being the one.
Yeah.
But on another level, it's actually speaking about an intense fear of being alone. So it's something I didn't deal with until more recently, is the fact that I think that I've got an inherent neediness in myself and a fear within myself to not be alone. And that's something that's problematic to myself, problematic to other people in terms of relationships I've had. I think it stems from the fact that when my parents were 12, they split up, and a few years into that, my mum and I sort of endured a fragmenting of our relationship, and the reason was probably due to the fact that it was probably a bit logistically easier for me to go and live at my dad's house, just in terms of placement, location, and sort of setup in terms of my schooling. And unfortunately, through the next bunch of years, between the ages of about 14 and even into my 20s, I lost a certain version of contact with my mum, which I had a lot more of before. And don't forget, this amazing lady who'd been through huge amounts of trauma herself, she had taught me piano, so I based my whole life around this sort of like creative thing. And to sort of have that emotional change, I'm only starting to realise now in my sort of mid to late 30s that it's left me with this sort of trying to recreate that sort of sense of my backbone of confidence within myself. I've really struggled with that through every relationship I've had. I've actually realised that being homesick is actually sort of like, the feeling of being isolated in a place which is, far away from home. It's late at night and you're really lonely, and it's the level of pain and depth that comes with that notion was probably, I think, related back to that time in my life.
Wow.
And so I'm only starting to sort of realise it's something I need to work on in myself. I've been seeing a psychologist about it over the last 6 weeks, because it's played out in various codependent elements in my own personal relationships, and it's caused havoc for me and caused havoc for other people. And I think that's the point of what I'm saying now, and being sort of this honest about it all, is the fact that if you know, my ex said to me, what we resist persists. I couldn't agree more. You've got to face your truths. If there's something that's there, it's not your fault, probably, originally, that you feel a certain way. Humans are humans. We all have things that are there. If you need help, doesn't matter how much bravado, how much front, how much kind of you're saying your life's going a certain way, open up, be true to your heart, talk to other people about it, because you will actually probably have to go through some sort of emotional upheaval for it, but on the other side there is a lesson to be learnt through it. That's all we can do in our lives, is try and sort of face truths and become a better person through them. So that's something that's been a gift from this last time, and I think that, you know, we can always change for the better, you know.
Well, sorry that you went through that sort of stuff, but positive things have come out of it, including homesick.
Yeah, you know,
Because what a great song.
Well,
would have loved to have seen a video clip for that, but I feel like that probably would have been too deep for you. Maybe?
No, look, I love that song. It's something about it. Yeah, it's those songs that are the most emotionally real to me, is the ones that actually kind of delve into that. So, you know, it had to be written.
Well, I'm glad you did, because as I said, it's still in my iPod. Still listen to it. And that was like the start of checking out the rest of your music. So.
Oh, glad that's the one that opened you up to the rest of it.
Yeah, so thank you. Now, even though you guys have already achieved so much during your career, or 14, 15 years of it, what else can we expect from you in the future? You've obviously got the tour, but what's after that?
Well, for the first time in my life in a long time, I don't really exactly know. I've got some calls from some guys over in New York who want to take me on the road. An amazing guitarist called Oz Noy, Israeli-born guy based in New York. He's been there many years. He's very respected jazz and blues kind of crossover guitarist. He's talking about some projects. There is a good chance I'll go back to Los Angeles for a while. We've been talking a little bit about doing some recording at the studio in Melbourne again, in the Thirsty Merc sort of capacity, because that could be, well, the studio's actually kind of closing down at the end of the year, so it might be fun to go back in there just quickly and just see what comes out of that session. One last blast. So that could be something, and if we get a product out of that, we might take that on the road later on. But I'm trying to be more open now. I don't really know. I mean, you know, I bought a place in Albury between Sydney and Melbourne at the start of this year, and hopefully if I can sort of knock the payments down on that as much as possible by the end of the year, then I'll be in a position to sort of have a bit more financial flexibility from that and the place I have in Sydney, to sort of go, hey, maybe I can, you know, just, I don't know, rent them both out, do some more travelling, live in one, create a new project. I don't really know. I'm trying to sort of not... The thing is, I got so attached to outcomes that I always wanted to kind of be such a master of my own destiny that, like, I'm going to make this happen, I know exactly where my life's going to be. And I ended up stressing myself out to the point of, like, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. It's not sustainable. So I like the idea of actually leaving things a bit more open now and just kind of saying, hey, there's a middle ground we can strike here. Who knows? You know?
Well, whatever you do, we're going to love it. So we're looking forward to it. And I'm always here for you. If you need to promote something,
well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
There's always a park bench.
Yeah, exactly. Just meet right here. And before we move on to the Rave It Up game, yes, there's a game we're going to play. What advice would you give to the listeners who might want to follow their dreams of becoming a singer or maybe starting their own band?
Great question.
Thank you.
What advice? Well, look, the thing that seems to be a common theme with a lot of what I've said in this sort of area of inspiration to others is passion's it. You gotta do what you love what you do. Cliched phrase, but gosh, it
It's
rings
true.
true because, you know, there's always been that guy who was in your class who, you know, they kind of were good at maths or whatever, and they rang it in and just did it and all of that. But then there was someone who actually kind of viewed maths weirdly as like they actually looked at the concepts as if it was like a really interesting thing to them, and you could just tell that they like actually got a real connection with it. I think they're the people that see things through, you know, the people that kind of look at it in a kind of like a bigger overview, and it just goes deep into the core of who they are. And I think that you've got to find out what that is for you, and if it is music, you've got the bug. It ain't going to go away.
Yeah.
You're going to love music, you're going to love the sound of it, you're going to love being a fan as much as you are a practitioner of it, and that's the unconditional love that you're going to have, and you've got that or you don't. And if you've got it, then just be good to it and let it be good to you, you know. Obviously practice is something you got to do a lot of. There's a lot of things that you can, you know, there's the business side, which is a pretty misunderstood thing. There's a lot of elements that people aren't as good at in terms of being an artist because they try to avoid these elements. It's good to have a thick skin. It's good to have a business understanding of where it's at, but that doesn't mean you become an automated sort of corporate robot. You've actually got to then keep your creative, spiritual, creative side sort of nourished as well. So that's going to be a busy thing for you to do, but hey, there's your work cut out for you straight away, and you've got to just get on the stage, get on the scene, and just and look at all the support you've got around you. You've got other people on stage with you. You've got other people that are huge fans, and they're going to be your team. So I'd say assemble your team within yourself and within your network, and just kind of stay true.
Yeah.
Say no to drugs. But seriously, that's rife too. Drinking, drugs, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, people are going to go and have some fun.
Stay focused.
But I've seen too many artists come undone with that, and it's rife in a lot of different industries. You know, even in finance, advertising, any industry, there's a lot of people out there just getting too wasted too often. And I hate to sound like a sort of someone's dad or something, but honestly,
Don't do it.
moderation in moderation, kids.
Very true.
And I've only realised recently it's linked to all these other things which can literally lead you to, you know, suicidal sort of thoughts, depression, and all these other kind of things that come as compounding elements of stuff. Be mindful of it, you know. You know, it's so that's something I just had to mention as well.
Yeah. It's good advice, and hopefully the listeners take it on board. So thank you.
Come on! Burn it up, burn it up, burn it up. Burn it up, we burning up, we burning up. All right then.
It is now time for the legendary Rave It Up 2-minute hot seat. For all the new listeners, and for you, Ray, how this game works is I'll ask you various questions, and you just have to pick your preference.
Okay.
So it's like Coke or Pepsi, cats or dogs. And you have to answer as many questions in 2 minutes as possible.
All right, I'll see what I can do here.
It gets pretty intense, but it is lots of fun. Okay, are you all ready? That's what the
Ready as I'll
stopwatch
ever
here
be.
is for. Okay. I'm going to make sure you don't look at the questions because that would be cheating. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook.
iPhone or BlackBerry?
iPhone.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Rap or rock?
I don't know what that means. Oh, as in
Rap
music
music or
styles?
rock, yeah.
Oh, both.
Rock or pop?
Both.
Pop or country?
Pop.
Beach or mountains?
Anywhere.
Beach or pool?
Pool.
Skiing or snowboarding?
Skiing.
Comedy or action?
Comedy.
Blondes or brunettes?
Both.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Sunglass or hat?
Sunglasses.
SUV or convertible?
I've had both.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
PlayStation or Wii?
PlayStation.
Singing or dancing?
Both.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Italian or Chinese food?
Italian.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Kim Kardashian or Scarlett Johansson?
Scarlet.
Johnny Depp or Will Smith?
Met Johnny Depp recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
More
nice
online
cat.
shopping?
Mall.
Cinema or home movie?
Cinema.
Ice cream or gelato?
Gelato.
Cake or cookies?
Cake.
Cookies or cookie dough?
Cookies.
Family or friends?
Both.
Football or soccer?
Soccer.
Christmas or your birthday?
Christmas.
Night or day?
Night.
Bus or train?
Train.
Straight or curly hair?
Had both.
Eye colour, blue or brown?
Sorry?
Eye colour, blue or brown?
On a girl? Both.
Vampire or werewolf?
Vampire?
Texting or calling?
Hate both.
Sydney or Melbourne?
Love both.
Friday or Saturday?
Love both.
TV or movies?
Movies.
Starbucks or Glory Jeans?
Starbucks.
Snow or surf?
Surf.
Harry Potter or Twilight?
Twilight.
And we're out of time! How many questions do you think you answered in that time?
I'm not sure. You tell me.
Alright. Well, you have answered 42 questions.
That's pretty good.
And you are sitting... Yep. Number 45 on the Rave It Up leaderboard.
Oh, wow.
You're just going to have to come back on and play it again, I think.
Okay, I'm happy to.
Because the top of the
do some
leaderboard has
more.
answered 101 questions.
That's a huge amount.
It was her second time playing it, though, so she had a bit of a
Right.
advantage. But the one under that is 92.
Well, these people are fast.
Very, very fast. I
Very
don't know
decisive people out there.
I don't know if they gave their honest answers, to be honest, but
They just probably said the first thing each time. That's how to
we
get
know
through
you were honest because
fastest.
you're actually thinking about it. Dogs or cats? I don't know. But good job.
Thank
Wasn't
you.
it fun? I
It
told
was
you
great fun. It's the hot seat heated up. I could feel that. I was just sort of like, yeah, it's all working well.
Yeah, it might not be a hot day today, but you felt the heat. That's what
I
matters.
certainly did.
We are getting to the end of the interview, unfortunately, Ray. It's gone very fast. But as a closing statement, and what's probably the most important question, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 14-year-old self? Deep
Well,
question, I
it's
know.
such a deep question because everything was so different. Everything was changing so much when I was 14. I think I would have told myself stay in touch with my mum more through my teen years in school. Don't give up trombone. Don't give up violin. Because that would have been great fun to be able
Good
to
to
play
know
a
now.
horn instrument still and be as good as I was back then at violin. That was such a great
Great
vibe.
time of your life?
But the other thing is the best way for me to answer that would be actually, you know what? I don't have any regrets. So I actually don't think I would have done anything differently because I can't get the past back. I've only got the present moment. So that's my actual answer because if there's anything that I've learned through the last while, it's that focusing on the present moment is more important than I gave it credit.
Now, Ray, before we go, if the listeners would like to contact you or find out what you're up to in the future, where should they go?
Well, I've got obviously Facebook pages for myself under my own name, Rai Thistlethwayte. I've also got Thirsty Merc's Facebook page. I guess you can just send send a message to those. Generally, I'll be able to get back. And if you go to raithis.com, raithis.com, there's also contact details in terms of actual agent, management, and press contact.
It's a really
there.
nice website, by the way. Checked it out. It looks
Oh, really?
awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I've got my good friend Frank to thank for that.
Oh, there you go. Shout out.
Thank Frank. Thank Frank. So that's one way to do that. And
Okay.
I'm around.
Easy enough to find him, which is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Ray.
Thank you, Lauren.
Pleasure.
You
and-
are she's a shining
Aw.
light, and
Stop
she's cool. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for having us.
So nice of you to say. But definitely would love to have you on again in the future if you're ever interested
Anytime,
in coming back.
of course, love to.
Yeah, and good luck with the rest of your tour.
Thank
as
you.
well.
Yeah, it's
gonna be
it's
busy
a big
for
one,
you, but
and we're out there, and thanks
Yeah,
for
but
helping
for everyone
me.
listening, make sure to check out Thirsty Merc on the Shifting Gears tour. All the tour dates and ticket information are on their website, thirstymerc.com. So .com? Yeah, just .com, not .au. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.